What's going on, all you demon enthusiasts? Your two favorite exorcists are back tonight for the 31 Days of Horror, all month long, talking about some horror films, both new and old. We're going back to 1990 tonight. We're talking about George C. Scott, starring in the author and now director William Peter Blatty's Exorcist III.
This time you're going to lose. The real terror is back. George C. Scott in William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist III.
Oh, that's right. These wild boys are back for more 31 Days of Horror. Tonight we're going to be diving into Exorcist III. First time watching this film for both of us. We've heard many, great things about this movie, big in the horror movie community, always talking about this is the best sequel. Part 2 was terrible. It had Linda Blair in that, but it was very forgettable. William Peter Blatty, came up to direct this one because how terrible Part 2 was. He wanted to do it justice with a kind of new, like David Fincher-ish, kind of take on it with a serial killer called the Gemini serial killer. And it goes, George C. Scott's character of investigating some murders.
I like the angle of that and how they did that. It was more of a murder investigation this time with George C. Scott, a huge actor, back in the day, playing Patton, obviously what he's most well known for, but here playing the lead investigator, Kinderman, who's a police lieutenant. He uncovers more than he bargained for when he investigates a series of murders and involving a priest who ended up, I think, jumping out of a window and dying mysteriously. So he has to go investigate. And it leads into, all the things that we can expect from the Exorcist series, possession and just some crazy scenes with, demonic possession and crazy things happen around the, Catholic faith, basically.
Yeah, it was a really cool, refreshing take. I liked how they set this movie up with people dying, him investigating it, noticing on the bodies, on the wrist or the hands, they had the sign of the Gemini killer. So he's like, did the Gemini killer really die? Or is he still alive? So that's when he starts investigating. Sanitarium, goes in and investigating. He's really good friends with this priest, and then his priest friend dies. And then all these people start dying, inside of this facility, even though they're surrounded by cops watching this. So they're like diving into this, like, who could be doing this? So that really sets up some really unsettling and pretty spooky scenes.
It does. Yeah, I like that. It did feel like a Fincher film. It felt like very much in that vein. We see some actors who we've recognized before. We saw Herschel there from, obviously from The Walking Dead. That was cool seeing him as like a younger doctor, probably in his 40s here, I'd say. Scott Wilson we're talking about. Smoking throughout the hospital. Thought that was funny. Just a sign of the times back then where you could just smoke in a hospital. No big deal. He's along there. And then we also see a very young Brad Dourif, which was cool to see. When you first see him, it's actually a different person, the patient he's talking to there. And then he like changes faces and it's him. And it's a terrifying performance from Brad Dourif. Really gets under your skin and creepy. Basically plays like the, possessed killer in this.
Yeah, and then he kind of switches faces, and you see Damien returning from the first film, Jason Miller returning older, obviously, but he was really fantastic in this. I love how they set his character up, kind of switching back and forth between Brad Dourif. But I thought, playing the killer, it was really spooky, and how he set this all up, working with somebody else, not going to say too much, but really how they killed off these people is really, really unsettling.
Yeah, a lot of the iconography from The Exorcist, the one, is shown in this movie too, with the killings and with, the actual scene with the exorcism that's done in this, the way the demon's able to, basically throw the priest up on the ceiling and kind of, you see a lot of the blood and guts, and you see a lot of the iconography, the crosses burned into skin, demonic looking eyeballs, that one scene where it shows them and they're yellow and it just creeps you the hell out. And the scene with the nurse at the end where it's not really the nurse, it's the old crazy lady that's obviously possessed and is actually heading to Kinderman's family's home where his wife and daughter are there, and he has to race to go there before it's too late. That's a creepy scene too, and involves those big, whatever those are, the huge scissors basically.
Yes.
There's some creepy scenes in this. Very well done, very different from The Exorcist 1, but at the end especially, when the Gemini killer, you find out who it is, and you see that sequence where he's actually there on screen talking to Kinderman. It's some great stuff there.
Yeah, I was really surprised with this movie. I didn't know what to expect. And yeah, like you said, not much like the first one. They take it a different way in this movie, but it works. I think this is very cohesive to the original while being its own story. But it really ties in nicely to some characters. And I thought the possession scenes in this movie were really spooky. Brought the really great practical effects like from the original. Always got under my skin and scared the shit out of me as a kid, seeing Reagan and then seeing the priest being possessed in this movie was really spooky too. The scene with the lady on the crawling up on the ceiling and stuff like that, it was really cool. I'm like, ooh, I didn't see that coming. So yeah, just a really well done movie across the board. I had a great time with this. William Peter Blatty, great director and writer returning to this franchise, and did a hell of a job with this movie. I'm definitely going to rewatch next Halloween and the future Halloweens to come. I'm kind of bummed that I've been sleeping on this movie, but I'm glad we finally got around to watching it, reviewing it, because this is definitely one of the better sequels, the best sequel in the Exorcist franchise for sure. That being said, I'm going to give Exorcist 3, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. George C. Scott hair pieces.
Yeah, we were both sleeping on this one. I thought the same exact thing. It's its own thing. It's different than The Exorcist. Once you get past that and not being the same thing, the story's easy to follow. Kinderman, George C. Scott, great performance here, easy to follow, sympathetic lead here, investigating these murders. And then you get that really creepy, once you find out who it is and you see the actual possessions and the exorcism scenes, some really cool scenes and creepy scenes. Perfect for this 31 Days of Horror, and a movie that I want to revisit too in the future. Supposedly there's a longer director's cut entitled Legion, I believe. Really? So I'm going to look out for that and see, because there's supposed to be some extra stuff in there and more of, what he wanted to release initially and had to make some cuts with this one. So maybe we can come back in, 31 Days of Horror in the future and review Legion if we can find a copy out there of that. Yeah, I was reading about that. So that'd be interesting. But had a great time with this. And I am going to give Exorcist 3, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 Brad Dourif hair pieces.
So I want to hear from all you possessed enthusiasts out there. What did you like about Exorcist 3? What didn't you like about? What's your favorite film in the franchise? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to click subscribe. Also, check out these wild ghouls on Facebook, X, and Instagram at our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV movie news and reviews.
Man, we are getting spooky these 31 Days of Horror. We're having a great time already. We've kicked it off. We've got the ball rolling. It's spooky season here for these Cinephellas boys. And we're going to continue this all month long, I should say. We're going to have a great fellas giveaway to announce soon. And stay tuned for all that great stuff to come. There's so much new and old movies and shows that we're going to be covering. So stay tuned. You guys are in for a treat this Halloween season. So until the next 31 Days of Horror Cinephellas review, I'm Uncle Henry Dourif.
And I'm Uncle Logan Scott, signing out until the next movie review for 31 Days of Horror.
Cheers.